Have you ever questioned the true meaning of Jesus? Maybe it's time to look beyond the institutionalized image that the church has built over 2 millennia. What you know about him may not be what it seems. The truth that few dare to reveal is alarming. The Jesus you know might not be the real Jesus. For centuries, the church shaped an image of Jesus that distanced itself more and more from the real Galilean master. An inaccessible, distant Jesus who can only be reached through self-proclaimed intermediaries. This construction was made for a very specific reason: to maintain control, reinforce authority, and ensure the submission of the faithful. But what if the real Jesus wasn't like that? What if he preached something completely different? Something that destroys the entire foundation of power and control that religious authorities have over you. Luke 17:21 presents us with an explosive phrase, a direct statement from Jesus. The kingdom of God is within you. Not outside of you, not in temples, not in intermediaries, but within you. These words were spoken by Jesus himself, but many people do not understand their deep meaning. Why? Because this truth is dangerous for those who seek power through institutionalized religion. Have you ever wondered why you were taught to believe that you need intermediaries to connect with God? Why do churches claim that only they can be the channel between you and the divine? The answer is unsettling. You were deliberately separated from your own divine nature. Religious authorities do not want you to discover the power that resides within you. They need you to feel small, dependent, and in search of salvation that can only be achieved through their mediation. They distorted the message of Jesus to keep you away from your true essence, from your direct connection with the Creator. This separation is one of the greatest lies that have been perpetuated over the centuries. But Jesus never spoke about depending on a religious hierarchy. On the contrary, he always pointed inward. He invited you to look inside yourself and discover that the kingdom of God is already there. His entire journey was not about building institutions, but about helping people access the divine power that already resided within them. If this truth was in plain sight, why do so many people not see it? Why is so much effort put into hiding this knowledge to keep it secret? Wouldn't it be simpler to preach what Jesus really taught? The answer is simple, but terrifying. Jesus' message was at odds with the interests of powerful religious leaders who saw in religion a way to keep the population submissive. In the first centuries of Christianity, the church was in a constant struggle to establish an institutional model that would be acceptable to the Roman Empire and later to political power structures. To ensure unity and obedience, it became necessary to create a hierarchical religion with priests, bishops, and councils that controlled access to the sacred. And for this to be possible, it was necessary to distort the words of Jesus. The church knew that if the people understood that the kingdom of God was within each one, there would be no need for a centralized power structure. There would be no need for mediators or intermediaries. Christ himself would become irrelevant in his role as an intermediary because the divine connection would be direct and personal. Do you feel comfortable with the idea of depending on others to connect with God? And what if the true message of Jesus was that you already have everything you need within yourself to access the kingdom of heaven? This is something that many churches don't want you to understand. And why? Because if you understood this, they would lose their power over you. What lies behind this manipulation is a matter of control. If each person were empowered to connect directly with the divine, the institutions would lose their authority. There would be no need for rituals or ecclesiastical leadership to mediate contact with God. Control over the faithful would disintegrate, and religion would become a personal and transformative experience, something that the institutionalized church could no longer control. But there's something deeper and more disturbing. Have you ever thought about why dissenting voices advocating for a more intimate and direct relationship with God have been systematically silenced throughout history? Why were certain texts pointing to this liberating truth excluded from the official canon of the church? If you have the courage to face this truth, there will be no turning back. What will you do now, knowing that the church over the centuries distorted the original message of Jesus, separating you from your own divine connection? Are you willing to follow a path of spiritual self-discovery? Are you ready to challenge everything you've been taught and seek the truth for yourself? It is important to understand that the early Christians did not live under the authority of a religious hierarchy. Instead, there was a more direct and personal practice where each individual had the power to experience the divine presence without the need for intermediaries. Over time, however, as Christianity became institutionalized, direct connection with God was suppressed in favor of rituals and norms established by figures of authority. So what remains for us is the possibility of reversing this process, seeking the kingdom of God within ourselves, challenging the structures that tried to distance us from this truth. And the real question is, do you have the courage to do this? The apocryphal texts and Gnostic writings discovered in places like Nag Hammadi provide us with clues about what was lost. In these texts, Jesus is portrayed in a very different way from what was imposed by Christian orthodoxy. Instead of being seen as an intermediary between you and God, he is depicted as a master who reveals the inner light, a light that is within each of us. These texts challenge the institutionalized view of Christ and point to a personal journey of spiritual discovery. Why were these texts excluded from the biblical canon? The answer, once again, relates to control. They do not align with the idea of a Jesus dependent on the religious institution. They show us a liberating Christ who points to the divine power within each person. And this message, if spread, would threaten the control system that was established over the centuries. Now, the big question is, are you ready to face the truth? Because once you open your eyes to what has been hidden, there's no turning back. The truth is there, in plain sight, in the scriptures that were manipulated, in the voices that were silenced. Do you have the courage to follow this path and seek the direct connection with the divine that has always been within your reach? The kingdom of God is within you. It is not something you need to search for outside yourself. It is in your essence, in your true nature. When you finally understand this, you will see that there is no longer any need for intermediaries, hierarchies, or rituals. The truth will be yours, and no one will be able to take it from you. This is true freedom, spiritual freedom. And are you ready to live it? Imagine yourself in a vast, endless field, filled with ancient trees and soft light filtering through the leaves. The wind blows, bringing with it a sense of serenity, as if something is about to happen, something deep. You walk, feeling the earth beneath your feet, and suddenly you notice something simple, yet profound. You have always been connected to this earth. Every step taken, every breath, every sensation. The kingdom of God is within you. But for a long time, you were taught to search for this connection in distant places, temples, churches, intermediaries. Each of these places promised something you already possessed, but you didn't know it. For centuries, a story was built, a story that you needed someone, something, or some institution to reach God. But what if I told you that this is an illusion? What if the truth was much simpler, much closer to you than anything you have imagined? The ancient texts, many of which were buried and hidden, reveal something that the religious authorities didn't want you to know. The original message of Jesus was not about hierarchy or intermediaries. It was about you. It was about discovering the divine truth that is already inside you. Jesus' message was about awakening the spiritual power you already carry, not about distancing you from it. Now imagine for a moment, without the weight of history, without the weight of doctrines, imagine yourself free to explore this direct connection with the divine. There are no intermediaries, no mediators, just you and God. This may seem like a threat to many, but in reality, it is the liberation you have always sought. You never needed an institution or a pastor to connect with the source. What you need is to turn inward, to your own heart, where the kingdom of God resides. And why was this hidden? Why were you taught to believe that God is distant and that you must resort to rituals or a religious leader to reach him? The answer lies in the very nature of power. The great institutions need control. They need a hierarchy. The idea of a Christ who is directly accessible to each individual threatens this system. And that is why the original message of Jesus, the true spiritual freedom, was silenced. Have you ever stopped to think what it would be like if this truth were liberating? If you could have direct access to the divine without needing anyone to mediate it? This freedom means you can act for yourself, grow spiritually, and discover your true nature without limitations. This is not a call to chaos, but to true freedom. The kingdom is within you, and this is the message the great guardians of spiritual power tried to erase. You see, Jesus always taught that true connection with God does not depend on spectacles, public prayers, or complicated rituals. He spoke of intimacy in silence. In Matthew 6:6, he says, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." There are no crowds in that moment. There is no altar, no grand ceremonies. There is only you and God in silence without the need for an intercessor. This is the true message of Jesus. He did not come to establish a new religious institution. He came to teach each of us our own connection with the divine, because the kingdom of God is not something you seek outside yourself. It is something that already dwells within you. But this may be terrifying, because upon realizing this, you lose the need to depend on something or someone. You become responsible for your own spiritual journey, and that is powerful. But at the same time, it threatens those who seek power through institutionalized religion. The direct connection with God, which requires no intermediaries, weakens the control of the great religions over the consciences of the faithful. But this truth has not died. It survived, hidden in secret texts, in traditions passed down from generation to generation in restricted circles. Some call these texts apocryphal, others Gnostic. And among them we find confirmation that Jesus taught something far more radical than institutionalized religion allows. He taught that the path to God is direct, personal, and intimate. Did you know that many of these texts were censored, hidden, or even destroyed? Why were the teachings of Jesus, which pointed to a direct experience with the divine, suppressed in favor of a more controlled view of faith? Was there not an interest in shaping religion according to what favored the power structures of the time? These texts, like those found in Nag Hammadi, tell us that true spiritual liberation is not in following a set of rituals or depending on an external authority. It is in seeking within ourselves, in finding the light that already shines within each of us. Now I ask you, are you ready to look beyond what has been taught and seek the truth for yourself? Are you prepared to face what has been hidden, knowing that the truth will set you free, but also challenge you? Because once you begin to realize what has been concealed for so long, there is no turning back. The kingdom of God is within you. There is no longer any need for intermediaries. There is no longer any need for rituals, hierarchies, or an authority telling you what to do. You are the key. The access to truth is within you. And as you discover this, you begin a journey that cannot be interrupted. Do you have the courage to follow this path, to open your eyes and see what has been hidden in plain sight? The choice is in your hands. The kingdom of God is within you. Are you ready to live this truth? It is impossible to turn back once you know the truth. Once you understand that the divine resides within you, that your connection with the Creator does not depend on a system established by men, your view of the world will never be the same. You will see rituals, churches, dogmas, and religious structures with a different perspective, perhaps even with a more critical view. You will understand that everything you need is within you. No longer will you need to seek outside what already resides within your heart. The Bible already told us this, and now you are able to see it. But then, why do so many people continue to search for this power outside themselves? Why do so many continue to submit to religious authority when the key to true spiritual freedom is in their own being? The answer lies in the historical construction of Christianity. For centuries, the narrative was carefully shaped to steer people away from their inner power and centralize that power in institutions. The truth about the kingdom of God was not suppressed because it was hard to understand, but because it was dangerous for those in power. They knew that once you became aware of your own connection with the divine, their power would be undermined. But in seeking the truth, you also pay a price. The price of freedom is the loneliness of awakening. When you choose to look within yourself, realizing that there is no longer a need for an intermediary, you place yourself on the margins of the system. It may be uncomfortable, even lonely. After all, you will no longer be following a widely accepted doctrine, but rather a personal journey. You will be challenged to become your own spiritual guide, to build your own understanding of God, and to live according to the principles that resonate within you. And this is something profoundly personal. There is no universal formula for this discovery. Each individual has their own path, their own journey of self-knowledge and spiritual growth. And while you may feel alone in this process, it is also in this space of solitude that you will find true freedom. The freedom to be who you really are. Many of us carry the mantle of illusion throughout life. The idea that the divine is distant, somewhere we cannot reach without help, has been passed down to us since childhood. And the truth? The truth is that this separation was created by a system that needed to control faith, spirituality, and consequently, people's minds. The mantle of illusion has been passed down from generation to generation, and perhaps you have never questioned it. You accepted it as truth because it was taught to you. But something inside you begins to awaken, doesn't it? Something inside you feels that there is more. It feels that the answers are not out there, in some book, in some religious leader, but inside yourself. And you know deep down that this awakening is the only thing that can truly set you free. Now, we come to the crucial point, the moment many are afraid to face, the point of no return, the truth that has been hidden beneath layers of lies, distortions, and omissions. The true message of Jesus was never about building a religious institution or following a set of rituals. His message, the true message, was about the direct connection between each person and God. The kingdom of God is within you, and you have access to it at any moment, without the need for anyone to mediate that relationship. This is not just a philosophy or an abstract idea. It is a revelation that can change your life. Are you ready to receive this revelation, to open your eyes and see what has been hidden for so long? The key to the divine is within you. The answer to your doubts, to your spiritual struggles, to your search for meaning is already inside your heart. There is no need to search in distant places anymore because you are the temple. You are the door. You are the direct connection to the Creator. No longer will you need to seek answers from others because the divine already dwells within your being. Now, you can begin to live according to this truth, and when you live according to this truth, the world around you will change. Imagine a world where people finally wake up to this truth. Imagine a world where everyone understands that the kingdom of God is within them. There will be no more separations, no more institutions trying to control faith, no more mediators. Everyone will be directly connected with the divine, and humanity will rise to a new level of consciousness. It's an audacious vision, isn't it? But if you are willing to take the first step to abandon the old paradigms, the truth will be revealed to you. And when that happens, you will realize that there is nothing more liberating than living your truth, than living in harmony with the divinity that resides within you. This is your call. You have been deceived. You have lived an entire life believing a lie, but now the truth is before you within your reach, and you can no longer close your eyes. The decision is yours. Will you choose to continue living in illusion or wake up to the truth that has always been inside of you? If you choose to wake up, if you choose to explore your own spirituality without the limitations imposed by others, a new journey will begin. And with it, a new understanding of what it means to be connected with the divine. The kingdom of God is within you. Are you ready to live according to this truth? Liberation requires courage. Courage to detach from the system you have known. Courage to question what was taught to you. And most importantly, courage to trust your own spiritual journey. The truth can be challenging and uncomfortable, especially because it requires you to take responsibility for your own awakening. There are no more excuses or external explanations. You are the only one responsible for your relationship with the divine. The comfort of tradition, ceremonies, and religious authorities may be tempting, but remember, all these things, however well-intentioned they may have been in the past, were shaped to keep you distant from your own inner power. Now, as you awaken to the truth, you will feel the urgency to distance yourself from what limits you, to follow the call that comes from within you, the one that leads you directly to the kingdom of God without anyone's mediation. This journey will not be easy. It will be like crossing a desert in search of the pure water that is within you. You will encounter resistance from outside and, mainly, from within. Fears, doubts, insecurities will arise, trying to divert your path. But know this: every step you take toward the truth is one step closer to freedom. And the reward for following this path will be deep peace, a direct connection with the divine, and a clear understanding of who you truly are. Now stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever glimpsed this truth in your life? Have you ever felt that moment of deep connection when all worries and distractions disappear and you feel in communion with something greater? That is the reflection of the truth, a glimpse of the kingdom of God within you. Sometimes these moments happen in silence, in prayer, in meditation, or in a simple moment of gratitude. These moments are more common than you think. But because of the pressure from the external world and religious tradition, many of us ignore them or do not know how to interpret them. But now, as you discover this truth, you will be able to recognize these moments with clarity. You will begin to see the divine in every moment, in every breath, in every interaction. You will feel the presence of God in your heart, no longer in a distant temple or an old book. The truth will be alive within you. Now that you know the truth, the lie will become unbearable. You will look at the history of religion, at the institutions that stand as representatives of God, and you will realize that what they teach is only a shadow of the true message of Jesus. This may be a shock, especially because these institutions are respected, ancient, and well-established. But the truth never cares about popular acceptance. The truth is simply what it is. And now, you have the ability to see this truth with your own eyes. You will no longer be deceived. You will no longer be manipulated by those who wish to control your spirituality. Freedom comes from within, and now you are able to access it in a way you never thought possible. And as this happens, you will feel a peace and clarity that once seemed impossible. There will be no more doubt. You will know without a shadow of a doubt that God is within you and that you have direct access to Him at any time. Now you find yourself at a crucial choice. The decision is not about following more or fewer rules, rituals, or dogmas. The decision is about how you will live from now on. Will you choose to live according to the truth that has been hidden from you for centuries? Or will you prefer to continue accepting the distorted versions of faith, maintaining the separation between you and the divine? The choice is yours, but keep in mind that once you open your eyes to the truth, you cannot go back. The truth, like light, illuminates everything it touches, and by looking at the world with this new light, you will see reality clearly and understand that everything you needed has always been inside of you. This is the path of awakening, a path of courage, of honesty with yourself, and of trust in the inner journey. The truth is a flame that cannot be extinguished once lit, and now you have the key to keep it burning within you. The kingdom of God is within you, as Jesus said in Luke 17:21, and this truth will be your guide from now on. As you walk this path, you will begin to realize that the chains of control and manipulation are breaking. You will begin to live more authentically, more truly, more connected to your divine purpose. There will be no more separation between heaven and earth, between the divine and the human. You will be, in every sense, a reflection of the kingdom of God. And now, you have the responsibility to share this truth with the world. You are no longer a victim of the system, but someone who has the power to help others awaken. Just as the flame of truth was lit in you, you can light it in others. It is a legacy of freedom, self-knowledge, and direct connection with the divine. Through your own transformation, you can be a beacon of light for those still lost in the shadows of illusion. You can be the living proof that true spiritual freedom does not depend on institutions or mediators, but on an inner journey of discovery and empowerment. This is only the beginning of a journey that has no end. Awakening to the truth is not something you achieve once and then abandon. It is continuous, eternal, and expands as you grow and transform. Every step you take on the path of truth is one step closer to becoming the purest version of yourself, the version that was created to live in union with the divine. So, what will you do now? The answer is in your hands. The truth is within your reach. The kingdom of God is within you. The only question that remains is, are you ready to live according to it?